as an actor, your method was that, did you just sit in front of a mirror and like move your shoulders and?
Yes. Yes, with the YouTube on my iPad propped up next to me. I appreciated what it was that Rupert wanted to do in making this film and focusing on that period of Judy's life, which a lot of people perceive to be, quite tragic. And I don't know, in reading this script and listening to Rupert and his intentions, it seems to me that you couldn't really fully recognize how extraordinary a person she was without knowing the circumstances that she was challenged by during this period of her life. I think when you recognize what she was able to achieve in spite of all of those challenges, that's when it, really comes to light how truly extraordinary she was.
Obviously her life was ended prematurely, and she had a lot of troubles in her life, but I hope her story is an example of hope and survivalism and consistent reinvention and real genius and wit and tenacity. And I felt like what Renée did and the story we were telling, even at the end of her life when things were pretty tough for her, still had shards of kind of glory and celebration and joy. And so I feel like it's a moving, uplifting story, even though its end is unfortunate.
The physicality of this person you completely embodied, how did you find her in the shoulders and the neck and the way she holds the mic?
Just a series of shared experiments, really. We just, as a group, kept trying things, with different parts of the crew. And try this with the dress, and try this with the composer, and try this with, the prosthetics and makeup team. And Rupert was there for all of it, and pushing things in different directions, and pushing as far as he could, and then pulling back, saying no, less of that, and until it just sort of started to fall into place. We just kept trying things. It never really felt like we had established a moment where, oh right, that's it. Ever. We just kept trying things and recognizing when something felt valuable and held on to it and added it to the mix.
What did you think about your character? Like, do you think he's a good guy? Do you think he's a bad guy? I mean, there's layers to him.
Yeah. I think that was one of the interesting things about him, was sort of enigmatic, and a lot of histories of that time, or people like his book and Lorna Luft's book, and they have very differing accounts of the same circumstances. So we kind of had to make a few choices among us about what his real intentions were, but at the end of the day, it seemed like even if he goes off the rails or is trying to be a hustler that kind of falls apart, that it was out of adoration for her and a real love for her, and she wasn't too easy to live with either. So
tell me about getting into the studio and basically workshopping what she sounds like with your voice, or?
Mm-hmm. Well, that was basically what it was. It was looking at it kind of, I tried to intellectualize it rather than look at it from an emotional place, because I think that would have been a little too daunting. So just breaking it down in terms of style and pitch and where her register was at this particular time and the damage and all that stuff. And then, it just took Rupert insisting again and again, no, really, really, really does. You really do need to sing this. You really do. And then they said, hey, come meet us at Abbey Road. And I said, oh, okay. We're gonna go down there and they're gonna just let us in. Okay.
Which they did.
Yeah, that's lucky.
Yeah, it's the best cab ride I ever took in London. Abbey Road, please.
So cool.
Well, this movie is in part about how Hollywood treats women. And I'm curious, what does that message mean today?
Well, I think it's a little bit different, because women have a little more autonomy and a little more agency over the direction that their careers are going to take, and participating in things that weren't considered ladylike, or that a woman wouldn't feel entitled to in Judy's time. Obviously, as we've all discovered in the last few years, that there's still some things going on that have been part of this culture, and sadly our broader society in general, for a very long time. So much so that it didn't occur to a lot of us to ever question it before. And obviously we've seen what's happened in the last few years, and it feels like the paradigm is shifting. And it's inevitable as young women are coming into their own and they are holding positions of, of authority, and they're the creators, and they want to see, in our industry, at least, the stories told through the lens and the perspective of a woman's point of view. And so inevitably things are going to change, I think. It's what we're witnessing, isn't it?
The really sweet gestures, she's spending time, it's the showcasing of how she was such an ally to the LGBTQ community. Why was it important to incorporate that aspect of her character into Judy?
Well, those are some of the most loyal fans, I guess. I think she also was an example for that community, remains an example. I think quite what the details are about the Stonewall movement and the supposition that movement happened on the night of her funeral was obviously a big part of Stonewall as a movement, and so she remains at the sort of source of some of the political movement. I hope what we did is both sort of be affectionate towards that fandom, but also recognise that they were going through their own struggles in that moment, and that Judy, in the late 60s, a time when homosexuality was still only just legalised in Britain in particular, it was still a difficult time for them, and that felt interesting sort of social nuance to put in the film.